Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone in the world. This is Joven, and this is the GoLoco Podcast. And before today's episode, I would like to discuss some things regarding the current events going around, not just here in the US, but in the world. So, this episode you're about to listen or watch was originally going to be released last week. However, due to the protests and activism online for Black Lives Matter, I decided it wasn't the right time and that the movement should have its time to shine. And a week later, I believe that it should still be emphasized that this is not a trend. Black Lives Matter is not a trend. It is a movement, and it needs to be heard. I have so far tried not to steer away from politics. I had a poll a few months ago regarding if I should have any political topics at all, and just like anything in politics, it was very much split. But with what's happened recently, I feel like, for at least for today, that I should talk at least a little bit about the political and societal just events going on right now. So 2020 has been a rough year for probably everyone around the world to some extent. With the virus going on right now, everyone's stuck at home. And because of that, that's why I feel like the movement for Black Lives Matter has been at its peak now, as everyone's at home and there's nothing to distract us from the real issues going on in our society right now. With the police system, in which racially profiles against people of color, specifically African American men, and that same police system pushing out any sort of good cops who want to do good by making sure that they don't get their voices heard, that those good cops are harassed and eventually are forced to quit. I feel like this is the time to speak up for reform. And to all the people who speak that all lives matter, they do. But right now we have to specifically talk about Black Lives Matter, because right now these people who are being discriminated against just by the color of their skin, by not just police, but by everyday people. We need to push forward and make real changes to the system, whether that be through defunding or reforming police, whether that be introducing laws into government which will create justice for everyone, whether that's convicting the 4 police officers who were directly responsible for the death of George Floyd, or officers who shot and killed Breonna Taylor, among the many other stories of police harassing African Americans and many other people of color. This is the time for change. This is the time to stand up. So, I don't have a big platform. I can't say that I'll give all the money from this video to charity or organization, since I don't even have any monetization on YouTube. And the monetization I get from audio would probably not be more than a few cents. So, at the very least, what I can do as a very small creator, I'll have 2 links down in the description if you're on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on somewhere like Spotify, those will be in the description of those episodes as well. One is a Google Doc link I feel a lot of people have seen, which has links within it to petitions, organizations to donate to, fundraisers, how to guide and how to protest safely during the COVID-19 pandemic, and as well as links to help educate yourself on African American history, as well as things about racism and other various topics. And the other link is a very similar link, which has links to other petitions and other places to donate. And if you feel that there are other things that I should link below, please in the comments down below list any, and I will add them to the description if I see that they are fit to be put there. As an Filipino American and Asian American, while my contact with police has been limited, the times that I have talked with police, I've rarely felt fear for my life. And there are a group of people right now in America who can't say that, who just on a routine traffic stop fear that they'll be able to make it home. And that needs to change. And to all the looters out there taking advantage of the situation, or the influencers who are just going to the parade to take a picture for clout, you guys need to realize that the reformations and actions you take now are going to impact what happens next, positively or negatively. So I urge those who are trying to use this for their own gain to rethink about what they're doing. 2020 so far has been a rough year. And we can either continue letting the world push us down, or we can do what so many people are doing, even in the midst of the pandemic, and speak up against what's wrong. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Wherever and whenever you are in the world, remember, Black Lives Matter. Hey guys, welcome to the GoLoco Podcast, where we're trying to find sanity in this very insane world. And today I have a very special guest, but before we get to that, just letting you know, if you're on Spotify or Anchor, please follow the podcast so you can see whenever a new podcast episode comes out. If you're on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And also, for as little as $1 a month, you can support me on Patreon so I can keep creating content for y'all. And with that housekeeping all out of the way, let me allow my special guest to introduce herself. So, if you may.
So hi guys, I'm Holly. I'm 21. I'm Filipino, and I am a nursing student at Cal State East Bay. I'm Joe's cousin. We've known each other. Well, we'll get to that, but we've known each other.
You're a nursing student?
Nursing student.
So stereotypical. I'm just kidding, joking.
I know.
Joke na ko.
But that's true though, because my mom is a nurse.
It's true. But yeah, so let's see. We can start with saying how we met. I
want to see what you think, or like how you remember.
I remember my dad went to the sports park near our house, and they were playing he was playing basketball, and then I asked my mom, "Can I go?" And she said yes, so I went. And then my dad, I think it was your dad, might have been there, I forget, and then a couple other dads were playing, and then for some reason you were there, and for some reason you hated me immediately. I don't remember why. Like, I didn't meet you, and you decided, I'm going to chase this guy around for no reason. I'm just like, okay. And from then on, we had like a love-hate relationship for like 5-6 years, and then I think, yeah, after that, I think we're chill now. You don't want to kill me, but never know. I don't know what's in that brain of yours. How about you? What do you remember?
I remember it was 2007, and if it wasn't
we know
spring,
dates, okay. We know dates.
Because we moved here 2006, and so I was friends with Kelsey because it was cool. And then I just remember that all of our dads played at the park playing basketball. It was always on Saturday, like Saturday mornings. And I knew of you And I didn't hear a lot of great things about you. And that's why I instantly hated you.
What things? I don't even know any.
I just heard that you were really annoying. So I was just like,
Oh,
yeah, I don't want to deal with it.
kakainis.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, like my vocab, it's increasing finally.
I know. You might need to add subtitles though, or like
Nakakainis means annoying there for everyone.
Okay, there you go.
So relatively means annoying there. I'm not about to make this an anime and have like subtitles, just like too much work on my editor, which is me.
Yeah, so we met then, and then I remember I was on my Razor scooter because my mom was like, "Oh, let's just all exercise while your dad, you guys can like scooter around like the school that the park's at." That's what we did, and that's like how we met. And then I just remember you guys were like invited to the next party.
Yeah, and then like I'm gonna let the audience know we're all cool now. We've grown up, we've matured, but like I don't want to say kids will be kids, but like this girl legit hated me a little too much. Like I didn't like. Okay, I'm gonna tell the story. Okay, so one time we were at a party, right? And then I think all the kids were like playing, and
it was my house.
Yeah, might have been your either it was your house. No, actually it was Jacob.
Oh,
Jacob's house. Jacob's old house. Shout out to Jacob. Not saying last name, but shout out to Jacob. But I remember everyone was like, I don't know why everyone was play fighting. I think because we're all like 10 and under and all really rowdy children. But like no one was getting hurt at that point. We're just kind of like, ooh, tag, you're it, running around, chasing, jumping. And I don't know what happened. I think I tagged you. I might have tickled you on accident. I don't remember what the actual thing was. But for some reason, in response, this girl grabbed like a pillow. Like one of those pillows, not like a bed pillow, like a couch pillow, grabbed it and smacked me across the head with it. And I had braces at the time. And it got one part of the fabric got caught in my braces, pulled the metal out, cut my lip, and I was bleeding. And I was like, what the heck? And then when I told my parents, I'm the one who got in trouble. I didn't, but I don't remember what happened. There was other incidents that were lesser than that, but I think we just chilled out eventually. It might have just been high school not giving a crap anymore.
Those other stuff. Over each other by like middle school. We were like, but
he stopped smacking me in the face.
Well, if anything, now we like hug, and then I do like little like we like do some like bro fists sometimes. Like we were hella chilled out, but like it went from like us fighting to us just like looking at each other, and then I don't know, we became like brother sister.
I think because you chilled the hell out, and I could actually talk to you without you like wanting to punch me in the face.
There was something. Okay, let me like be completely honest, because we love honesty. Your face when you were younger just like annoyed the hell out of me. Like your face is just so annoying.
What about my face? Did I make expressions like?
I think it was because you had a mustache, and I was just like,
I have a mustache right now, and you're not complaining about it now.
Okay, but you were like, how old?
10, 11?
Less than that. And you were like less than 10 and you already had a mustache. What is up with this kid? And then your voice was so high. And because you had braces, you used to like spit.
I mean, how high? I don't know what my voice sounded like because it's different now. Maybe because my voice lowered also and you're like, oh, he's chill.
He's normal.
I'm like, no, I'm the same guy. I just have a different voice now.
No, your voice was high, but it kept like cracking. Like you would
That's
talk.
called puberty.
At like 9?
Yeah. There's people who start puberty at like 7.
I was a late bloomer, so I was just like, why is it like we're chill now. Please love you.
All right, I guess this is some puberty shaming up in here. Okay. I'm just never my god, if you ever have a kid, I'm just gonna be so sad when they start puberty. It's gonna be, you're like, why is her voice cracking? Why is it so high? I'm like,
I'm chill now. I'm gonna be like, oh, no.
okay, sure. Okay, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
But yeah, so for today's podcast, we were thinking about probably discussing about how we grew up, specifically how we both grew up, as how different our lives, or I don't know how you say, lives growing up as Filipino and Filipino American here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Let's just say, don't want to get too specific.
Yeah.
I live on this street now, but yeah. So, did you want to go first, or since you're the guest, you can go first. So I'll let you go first.
Maybe we should talk about like our relationship, like
With what?
okay. So growing up, we always referred to each other as like, but like we're not actually really, and like I think it's hard for people to understand our relationship if they don't come from a big family or if their culture is ours. So,
Why you want to explain what our relationship is? Just if you want to explain that.
okay. So growing up, I think we always just told people we were cousins just because we hung out a lot, and people would like ask like, oh, how do you know Joe, or how do you know this person? And so we'd always just say like we were cousins because it's like the simpler answer. But we're not related. Sorry to burst some people's, but basically we were close family friends. Sister was born, and then you became her godbrother. Your parents are her godparents, and so like I think from then we were just like, oh, we're cousins. But no one like really made a big deal out of it until high school, when all of us were like at the same school, and everyone was just kind of like, how are these people, and how are all these people your cousins?
Yeah.
And so like they would like just ask like, oh, like which side are they from? And like I just, oh, Jovin's dad, like just to get a kick out of it. But like, yeah. So we're not actually cousins, close family friends. We just see each other a lot. It's just easier to say we're cousins because like I think that's a Filipino thing. You have like aunts, your parents meet randomly and then to you.
Yeah, it's like, it's your tita, it's your tito, but it's out more out of respect. And
Yeah.
family friends are basically family at that point, because everyone's your family in some way. Not like blood related, but like we're more, even though blood is really important, it's more like also the bonds you create are really also how your family is shaped as well. So a lot of your close friends will become your family in that point. Like how people say we're not, like how like the Guardians of the Galaxy and how people in Fast and Furious, we're not friends, we're family. It's similar to that, but like actually that's probably the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
So
because like my cousins don't live near me, so you guys are like the closest thing I have to like I see often.
Right. So yeah, so in that way it's like we're cousins, not by blood, but we're like in terms of our bond, that's probably the closest thing you could have to explain. Because when you say family friend, it doesn't really sound like,
I feel like you don't sound like as
close, yeah.
makes sense. And like we're closer than like normal like neighbor friend kind of. Like,
yeah.
You know, like we've grown up together. We've like gone through a lot of like life together. And like I've lived here longer than town. Or, like the town the early part of my childhood. So I don't like keep in contact with any of the people there. So you guys are pretty much been like the constant people in my life growing up. So
yeah, so yeah, that's probably the best explanation for how we know each other, how our relationship is, and how to explain to other people who wouldn't understand that we're not cousins, but we're basically I would say at this point we're closer to even being more sibling relationship than cousins at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I already have 2 sisters, so having like another like 5 sisters is like taxing. I don't know how it feels like to have someone similar to a brother, but I'm just gonna say it's sometimes a little taxing having sisters, but it's not. I don't hate it, but y'all are taxing and draining sometimes.
You're kidding me.
Y'all are.
If anything, I just like go to your room and like hey, I'm gonna and I sleep on your bed.
Yeah, and then you ruin my bed sheet, and that's halfway ripped off. And I'm like, how did you? I sleep here every night. I never do that. And then take one party, and all of a sudden my bed sheet is off my bed. I don't understand how.
Because we hang out in your guys' room. We just like between rooms.
I know, but I'm just like, how did it come off?
Do you remember the Filipino party? Like
which
party?
Which one do you?
I just realized that.
It's like the Filipino party. Every
the
party
5 a.m. Christmas.
Yeah, ish. I remember we watched the movie and I fell asleep and stuff. It was like hella late when we finally left. I think it was 5 a.m.
It was. And I knocked out at like 8. And you guys were playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You guys turned off all the lights, and I don't know how I slept through all those gunshots. Well, good night. We just finished like opening.
Deep sleeper, nice. I'm a deep sleeper. It's hard for it to wake me up. You have to like.
Snore.
I know. I only can wake up from 2 things: either my alarm, which I know what it sounds like, or my dad's voice. Literally, almost no one else can wake me up, or at least get me out of bed. Those 2, alarm and my dad's voice, can. He's like, it's just. I literally had people jump on me, namely you, and it didn't work.
I don't remember jumping
I've been jumped on, and I'm like, nah, I'm too tired. I don't want to get out of bed.
Well, sometimes your parents tell us to try to wake you. Hey, wake Joven up. Then we like try tapping you. You don't wake up. So then we'll jump on you, and then you're like, get out. And then we just go down. We're like waking up. And then he'll like, it's like, Jove, wake up. And that was mainly like our Lake Tahoe trips.
Yes, Lake Tahoe trips were. I haven't gone on a Lake Tahoe trip in a while. At least my family hasn't. Probably in like 2 years, not too long, but like it's been a while.
And we went. Well, recently we go on like. It's been like the recent thing.
Yeah, we used to go on a lot of camping on Lake Tahoe trips back in the day. Camping ones when I accidentally dropped your sister into a pond was great.
I know, and then
she got hella mad at me, but I'm like, yo, it wasn't completely my fault, okay? It wasn't my fault, but it wasn't completely my like you could have.
She got mad at me though. I was like, I was on a different canoe on the other side of the damn pond. Why are you mad at me?
It's like, we got, like, you could have slowed down. Could have been a little, we could have rushed less. We probably wouldn't have fell. But it's fine, it's fine. It's in the past. Past is in the past.
That water was gross, though. If you remember. It was like green. It was
it's natural.
The cleanest
At least
water.
It wasn't polluted water. It was just natural algae, okay?
That same camping trip, I got... Oh no, that was the Koa campsite. That's when I fell off of the car, remember? We all tried to cram into one car. And then I fell from the back, and I still I have so many scars from falling off. You don't remember?
Because I didn't fall. I didn't fall. I don't remember having fun.
Queen Andrew was driving, and then you were next to me. It was Kelsey, me, and then you, and then they went over one speed bump, and then I fell backwards. You
gotta hold on, okay? There's no seatbelts on a go-kart, or whatever it was. I don't remember what it was.
Erica, both Ericas, and Kayla was there too. Ariane wasn't. It's only supposed to occupy 5 people, and we tried to fit 8 because we were trying to save money.
You gotta take out the lightest weight, Gotta make
that
sure
we can't. Kayla.
But Kayla's too young. She's too important.
I'm
Can't hurt.
important.
Debatable. No.
Okay.
Joke.
Whatever.
But
Joke lang.
joke lang. But yeah, I think that's good explanation of our family and friend dynamic. But we also want to talk about how both of us differ in terms of our backgrounds, in terms of just growing up Filipino, and how our families differ, how we differ, how our experiences differ, and how it's like there's no set way to be Filipino or Filipino American. So if you want to start with that.
Well, actually, I want to ask you, like, how Filipino do you think your family?
How Filipino? I would say if I want to go from like traditional Filipino household to Americanized, I'm much closer to the Americanized side of that scale in terms of like I don't speak too much Tagalog if at all. I can't make sentences. I can understand a little, and so can my sisters, but none of us can speak to a decent level of fluency. But my parents do have a lot of traditional Filipino thought process. I don't know what it is. So it's not like completely Americanized. And they still speak Tagalog to each other and to their friends. And we still have a lot of traditional Filipino things. They would think, oh, we do karaoke, we celebrate Christmas all the time a lot. We eat Filipino food still, but we're definitely more Americanized. I don't want to say like what some people say whitewashed, because I don't think it's necessarily whitewashed, because I don't think I can relate too much with any of my friends or any of my Caucasian descended friends, but it's definitely not like the traditional Filipino household, I guess. We have a lot of traditional Filipino customs and stuff, and my parents definitely have a lot of traditional Filipino beliefs, but I feel like we've also integrated a lot of American traditions and stuff in our life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, when did your parents move?
My dad came here, I think, like 1990, and then my mom came here. My mom was in Canada first in like the early 90s, but then she moved with my dad to America, I think either 95, 96, because it's like after they married and before I was born is when she came here. So somewhere around 94 to 96 is when my mom came here. So both early to mid 90s.
Okay. So my dad moved to the States in the 80s. But if you've met my dad, his accent is still very thick and he's still like quite Filipino, but he understands like American culture really well. That's like how I can explain my dad. I was born in the Philippines, and then my mom and I immigrated to the US together, and that was in 99. But my mom, I think, is more Americanized than my dad, but they're both still very Filipino. And so I don't know how it was for you growing up, but for me, a lot of like my first memory, and I always felt like I was kind of like the bridge between my parents and my siblings, trying to like help them understand each other. Because I think like in our group, I'm the only one who was born in the Philippines, right? I think you were born in the US.
Yeah, all of us are born in the US, and then a family group. I don't remember. I think everyone else was born in the US. So you didn't live there too long, obviously, but yeah, I think you were the only one who was born in the Philippines and then came here.
Yeah. But when you visited the Philippines, did it feel like home, or was it like this vacation island that come from, like, how was that for you? Because I visited in 2001, and that's where like most of my first memories from it, back in 2015. And like as soon as I landed, I was like, this is home. Philippines is home.
Yeah, I've been to the Philippines 3 times. The first time I was like a baby, so I didn't remember that. And then I went again when I was 13, and then again recently, like 2 years ago. And I would say it's not that I would call it vacation, because it is a vacation because it's away from here. But I didn't necessarily felt like it was home, but I had family there that I got along well with. But it wasn't as close as with the family and friends I have here, obviously, because I rarely see them. But it definitely didn't feel completely foreign to me. I do know that because I'm very Americanized and I'm obviously Philan. The minute I open my mouth, I was told, "Don't speak. We're gonna be scammed if you speak." So I'm just like,
what I
okay,
got too.
you can't bring any of your good clothes. I'm just like, oh man, okay. But I mean, that's so in a way I am like, I wouldn't say it was like, I'm not Ed going into freaking the Philippines and standing out like, oh yeah, it's totally a foreigner. But I'm definitely if people were to talk to me, they can tell I'm Filipino American, and then because of that, it's not that I didn't fit in or didn't feel like I was like being left out, because people talked to me, people interacted, I had fun, but it was definitely more like I couldn't be me. So I feel like definitely over here is where I feel more home. I feel more home in America, at my house, the Bay Area, than I do in the Philippines. But that just might be because my relationships with my family over there are not as strong as the ones I have over here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like that was the same with us. Mom told us like, don't pack your good clothes. Pack like your Walmart, Target clothes. All your good clothes that you're gonna donate, give it to me. But don't bring good clothes. I was told not to talk like outside of the house we were staying at. And we were at like this shopping centers. I don't know if you've like been to Visoria, but it's like this mall of like different vendors. So like there are like tents of different vendors that you go in, and it's not like malls we have here. It's like the bargaining markets kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a flea market or farmers market type of environment, closer to that than a traditional shopping mall, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
So we were like with my family friends and fitted. We were there for a wedding, so we had to get fitted for like different dresses. And she like took me and my mom, and she was saying like, hey, if you have to, or like point to it, can't speak, or else they're gonna jack up the price. So I remember like we were just shopping and I was like just pointing to stuff I wanted, or like we've developed like hand signals. And I can understand Tagalog. And so there was like this family, and I overheard them. And basically, it was like the wife talking to her husband. I feel so bad for that mom. Her daughter is mute, and she was pointing at me, and I was like, little no. But like, yeah, it's like, I get that you can't be 100% yourself, but I never really thought about that when I went. Just like,
it's weird because I know, and especially in the Philippines, a lot of them do speak English out there. It's like, was it in terms of literacy rate, not in terms of speaking or anything, literacy rate just in general. Philippines is one of the, if not the highest in the world in English, which says a lot because there's Australia, America, Europe, British, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, England. Sorry, England. Sorry, England. England. What I already said, New Zealand, right? England, Singapore, all those most dominant English-speaking countries. Canada, but in terms of just reading and understanding English, Philippines is up there, if not higher than a lot of those countries. But at the same time, the English I mean, as people know, if you've talked to any people who come from the Philippines, a lot of their English, it's not necessarily broken, but it's definitely heavily accented.
Yeah.
So it's obviously I didn't want like a fake an accent because that's rude, even though it might sound whether how authentic it is and how much they might like get swayed by it. It's not going to it's rude. I'm not gonna do that. So it's better for me if I don't talk. But at the same time, it's like it's weird not to speak English in a country that speaks English relatively well or understands it well. But at the same time, like I know I don't want to. If I talk, I'll come off as Filipino American, or I'll come off because I know have you to the people out there, if you've ever watched a Filipino movie, and majority of those movies speak English, but if you listen to that English, a lot of it is overdubbed. I don't know why. Like, just even if their actress is speaking English in the movie, they just like to dub over it. Maybe just so sound quality sounds better, but their accents are really, really heightened to the point where they're trying to hide as much Filipino as possible, but it just kind of sounds robotic and sounds like this. Like, do you really believe in love? It's like, what the fuck? It sounds so weird, but that was just a little rant. It's like not being able to speak English. Obviously, I'm lucky that my parents speak Tagalog, but I feel not confident to go to the Philippines by myself and feeling like I won't get ripped off at some getting a tricycle ride somewhere or going to a flea market. I feel like I would get it feels bad that I know that I might get fleeced on a price just because I don't understand fully what they're saying, or just because they think I might be rich, even though not rich. You know, I might be rich. I might be rich compared to some of those people, but like I don't like the money they're asking for is not the money I probably would have. Yeah, and that's all just based on because I'm American, so they think I'm more well off. And even though I am, it kind of feels like weird that they're taking advantage of me in that way. But it is how it is.
That's like a common thing though in the Philippines. So like when it comes to like English, if you don't know like the Tagalog language, our language is mixed with like some Spanish words and some words there's just no like a Tagalog translation. So we just
there's like whatever. So just letting you guys know, Philippines has like 2,000 language. We like to say dialects, but they're really all unique languages. A lot of them do share like words or similar saying of words. Like I know there's a lot of words from like Ilocano and Tagalog that sound very similar, even if they mean the same thing. They're just slightly said different or spelled different. But basically, Spanish came hundreds of years ago now. I don't remember. Not too big of a history buff. And then they colonized the Philippines, and the modern main Tagalog language is like a mixture of Spanish. No one even knows what native language was the one that got mixed with, and some English, obviously, because there's obviously as more modern terms come up, you can't say there's no direct translation for iPhone. It's just iPhone. So so it's just kind of a weird. But it's a really nice language. It's easy to It's easier to learn than I think a lot of other languages. But at the same time, it's obviously like any other language. It takes a long time to learn, and I've been trying to learn it myself recently. I took a class last year in college, trying to speak Tagalog, and I'm better at it now. Understanding words are easier to come by me, but I still can't fluently have a conversation with someone, and I one day hope to get to that level, at least to some competent level where I can say basic stuff. But yeah, it's just weird in a good way. But yeah. So
for me,
go ahead.
For me, I understand it and then I speak it little, but my parents were the same way where because like I moved to the US, they didn't want me knowing or like speaking Tagalog. They cared more that I spoke like really good English, which I feel like I can't speak English at all. But like I don't know. It's weird growing up when your parents speak a different language and then you're learning, they all kind of just like mix up at some point.
Like
So
Taglish.
yeah, so like if I can't like figure out a word, I just say it. And like my cousins in the Philippines, they didn't. I, I guess because they knew like I'm from America, said that my Tagalog that bad, that bad, but it could use.
Better than
But
me. I just got spoke English too.
but like that's the thing though. Sometimes I'd try to make it easier for my cousins because there's this term nose in the Philippines. If you speak too much English, they say, "Oh, I'll get in," because like it hurts. Like that's why they say it.
Wait,
Like you're
what was
speaking
the
too much
term again?
nosebleed.
Oh, nosebleed. Oh, because it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
I
like
get
you
it.
speak too much English, their head hurts. So I would try to speak Tagalog just to like out of like respect, I guess. But then they'd always just like talk to me and like even if I'm not there because our family FaceTimes sometimes, they still speak in English to my dad. So it's like it's weird how we like act a certain way for like different people, but like within families, it's not as like Filipino as I think one would make sense.
Yeah, I can see that though. I'll say this for me: the fact that I can't speak Tagalog is one part. In fact, they wanted me to speak English, but two, kind of wasn't. It was kind of not the reason. Yours. I had a speech problem up to like age 7, in which I could not form sentences. So like so I would be like bird, tree, car, fly,
We met.
water, and then so I think so I remember going to speech classes the first few years of my elementary school, and then after like first or second grade I stopped because I think I was able to speak sentences at that point. But they said don't try to introduce another language to him right now, just because he needs to focus on just being able to speak. And it wasn't, I don't know, it's not like, I guess it is a developmental problem, but that also might be because I was the first of my family in America. My parents, though they spoke English, were at work all the time. So my grandparents were taking care of me, but they spoke the most Tagalog and Visayan. And I was watching English TV, so that might have slowed my development process in that way. And I just feel like I'm still feeling the ramifications of that because I still have a little stuttering problem when I either get too excited or too nervous or anxious or anything and my stutter comes out. It's much better now, but I remember when I would get, like, let's say I would get mad, I'd be like, I can't do anything, god damn. It's like, what the hell? It's like,
Wait,
it's just
so
really bad. I don't know if you ever noticed, like, and you said I spit, but that was my braces. Did you ever notice when I would like stutter or just like my words did not make
no, but like
sense?
now I knew like you okay. I don't think I didn't like you stuttered or anything, but I didn't know like that was an actual thing. I didn't know you had like this issue.
Oh, I mean, I don't even remember. I mean, I remember having the class, but I remember hearing the issue just because I still made a lot of friends. I was still talking to people. I think they knew that it might be just development with speech because in elementary school, my reading level was pretty high. Like when everyone was reading picture books, I randomly just gravitated toward the chapter books, which everyone was like, okay, so he can read. So it's not like doesn't know English, but something with the brain going to the mouth is not connecting. So they said don't try to introduce any other languages to him just because he needs to learn to speak sentences first. So they decided, obviously, since we're in America, it might be best if I were to learn English first. And then I think after that, it just became to the point where I just didn't learn Tagalog from them. They never spoke to me. It's not like they speak to me in Tagalog and I respond in English like some Filipino households do. So in that case, see, look, I stuttered right there. But you thought that was lag. Now it was a stutter. I think there's still some sort of I know some people do stutter just naturally, even if it's not a
Mhm.
developmental problem, but I feel like that might be connected in some way. Like, I think, I don't know, in my brain, I feel like my brain, in terms of thought patterns, are just racing so fast. Like, Ashley said this too. She's like, I think your brain is going too fast for your mouth because your mouth sometimes speeds up and eventually your mouth just kind of gives up and it just starts stuttering, like it's buffering, like an internet buffer. Like, did you know? It's like, what? I don't know if you've ever noticed that about me or not.
I don't think I have, but
Oh,
like,
now you're gonna notice it a lot more often.
I'm gonna like watch. How is it like learning a language? Because like I took French, which I don't know French. I should have taken Spanish. But if I'm having trouble finding like a word either in French, Tagalog, or English, I just switch between like the three different languages.
To try to find. For
Yeah.
me, Spanish actually came relatively easy. I'm not good at talking Spanish now, but in the 3 years I was taking Spanish, I had good grades. I knew my vocab. I knew some grammar. I couldn't speak it. I didn't practice enough to be able to be fluent like that. I'm somehow more able to understand Tagalog now than Spanish, but that just might be recency bias because I learned Tagalog more recent or learning Tagalog more recently.
Mhm.
So it might be more thing, and obviously my parents speak it, so I'm able to still catch words and remember what they are. But for me, it's like I think because my memorization skills are actually pretty good, I was able to do well in languages in other classes like history, English, where I have to remember stuff. Because I think, yeah, remembering stuff comes easy to me, but retaining that information in terms of like stuff that if I don't care about it, like I need Spanish just because I want to get into college, I want to finish my high school credits. It wasn't something I wanted to, so but that's why I feel like Tagalog, even though it's much harder for me for some reason, I think maybe because Spanish has more Latin derived roots, so it's easier to transition from English to Spanish than English to Tagalog. Because even though Tagalog has some Spanish, it's not much. So it's like it's a whole new world, whole new world. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's not difficult for me to learn a new language, but I have to have like the passion to want to do it. And I really want to know how to speak, understand, write Tagalog. So I think that's why I'm retaining much more Tagalog than I did Spanish. So I don't think I don't think it was a problem of learning. I think it was a problem of literally just speaking.
I remember the New Year's party. Kayla and I sang at the gala. Did you sing it too, or did you like maybe just stick with like English?
I don't really sing Tagalog songs in karaoke. I'm definitely more gonna go towards English just because I don't know many Tagalog songs in the first place. So I mean, and I can like if you gave me a Tagalog sentence, I'll say this, I'm much better than Kayla in terms of saying Tagalog. Her accent is almost non-existent. She still sounds like an American saying it. Like it's not abacada or a e a o o u because it's like it's all short vowels. She'll still pronounce a lot of like short vowels. It's not a e i o u. It's e i o u. Like that's in English, but there's rarely any long vowels in Tagalog, but she still pronounces a lot of those long vowels, so it just kind of sounds off a lot. But like I can read it, I just not gonna fully understand it. But I feel like I'm better at it now. If you were to give me a passage and if you give me a dictionary, because I know the Filipino grammar and English grammar are not the same, but if you were to give me a dictionary, I could probably piece together what was said. Or if I understand some of the words, I can piece together, okay, I know a lot of these words. I can still read emotion. I can still read hand gestures, body movement. I just need the slightest bit of context, and I feel like I can understand what's the overall idea of what's been talking about, though I still miss sometimes, but I can understand it better now than I feel like I've ever been able to before.
Yeah. I remember you got me into like a Tagalog song.
I might have. I mean, I don't remember.
I'm trying to find it. It's like
Is it Bakit Pa?
Zeb No, that one
Zebiana?
yeah, that one. You got me.
Because I was just playing that like on my Spotify, so I shared it. I think that's where you saw it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a really good song, but like I never.
It's
So
by
do you
PND.
not plug? Do you not
BDO.
normally listen to like the Godlock songs, or was that just like
Ashley?
the mood?
So I'm gonna say this: my girlfriend Ashley, for people who don't know, she's similar to your situation in terms of she was born in the Philippines, but she lived there till age 3 or 4, I think. I think 4. So she was there for 4 years. So she came to the U.S. The only thing is with her is that her family speaks both Tagalog and Ilocano, and she doesn't, because she only lived for 4 years in the Philippines. She doesn't know. She can understand both relatively well. It's just that she doesn't know the difference. Like she won't know if it's a Tagalog or Ilocano word. So that's the only thing. But see, then my stuttering problem again. But she understands way better than me. She's lost the ability to speak it fluently, but she's way more, like if someone were to talk to her in Tagalog or Ilocano, she will be able to respond in English easily, or I'll be like, what did she say? What did they say? She'll be like, you didn't understand? I'm like, no. Translate. I think she's a good translator from Tagalog to English. English to Tagalog might be a little bit more difficult, but I think she could get that as well. But the reason I listen to more Tagalog songs recently is because she has a lot of Tagalog songs on her playlist. So when I'm in the car, it comes up. So I've started to. It's not like a big amount of artists. I'm not like, oh my god, listening to the Filipino top 40. It's more like whatever songs are from her childhood or whatever songs she heard. But it's definitely more. It's more than like the 5 songs my mom plays. Than over here, like all the old school ballads. It's like a little more. There's some Filipino rap, Filipino R&B, more OPM, more recent OPM is what I want to say. Recent as in like 90s, but or 2000s, but like was a Rainbow by South Border. That's an old song, but like it's way more modern than the songs my parents listen to that are from the Philippines.
Yeah.
So yeah.
See, I never noticed that either. That like everyone talked to you in English. Like our titas talk to you in English, and then they like talk to me in Tagalog, but I never like noticed that. Yeah, it's weird. Like maybe like we're just so like used to each other or close, we don't notice like those little differences. But
yeah, I kind of understand it. Especially I feel like Andrew and Ika's parents definitely speak Tagalog to them more sometimes, even though they respond back in English a lot. Similar to your parents. I think your parents are more Taglish because I do hear English a lot too. But yeah, my parents are like like even to you guys, my parents speak English. I think they're just used to having to speak English to a younger generation.
Yeah.
Even though my cousins who live here, they all speak Tagalog. All my cousins speak or at least understand pretty good amount of Tagalog, even though they've lived here almost, if not longer than me, here in the U.S. But they lived in the Philippines a little bit longer than me, and their parents speak more. I feel like my cousins, especially my dad's side, that live over here, speak a lot more and understand Tagalog a lot more than I do. That just might be because I was the first one to be born here, so so me and my sisters were spoken more English too, just because our school system, we're not getting taught Tagalog at school, we're getting taught English. Learn our ABCs, not our ABCs in Tagalog. I'm just blanking on ABCs now.
Did you have a lot of Filipino friends
growing up?
Yeah, or like in our school, because I feel like I was like
you were like what?
I was the only Filipino in my group.
Let me see.
In my high school group,
I had a good amount of Filipino friends growing up. I wouldn't say I was like in a Filipino dominant group. It was mostly our school was predominantly Asian, so And there were good amount of Filipinos at our school, but I feel like while I talked to many of them and were acquaintances or friends, a lot of them, I didn't have many of them in my main friend group. So growing up, I feel like I was more identifying more closer to being Asian American, or just this, because over at our school, at least in my grade, I feel like there was a more, instead of like dividing being Chinese American, Korean American, Filipino American, there was much more just being Asian American at our school. Just because I feel like it was such a big population of our school, everyone just kind of integrated. That's not the term. Kind of just more like, yeah, just Asian American. And I feel like social media around that time and how it is now has been kind of getting close to that. But now that I'm in college, I feel like there's a lot more bigger voices of being Filipino American specifically. I haven't seen much, even though I know there's probably a lot of people who are saying Korean American, Chinese American, Vietnamese American, and all that stuff. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like the voices of just being Filipino American have been amplified in recent years. Not in a bad way. I'm just saying like more, I've been seeing more terms like Philippines?
Filipinx.
Filipinx, sorry. I never, see, I'm not that like, okay, sorry. I'm really bad at this, okay? Like I've never, Filipino, Filipina, Filipinx. I'm so sorry. But I'm just like, yeah, I feel like there's been a lot bigger. Sorry. Well, to be fair, that sounds dope. Okay, don't. It sounds dope. Okay.
That sounds like a Pokemon.
Hey, Pokemon is cool. Okay.
It is.
Philippines use tackle. See, that's where my brain goes a little haywire sometimes. But yeah, I feel like the Filipino, especially the Filipino American voice, has been much more, at least social media wise, much more advocated for. I can't say the same for the outside of social media, just because I do have a lot of friends who are doing that, so I have no idea how like the majority of Filipino Americans are doing outside of my little bubble, because I don't want to, as much as I don't want to think I am, everyone is in their own little bubbles, because it's whoever their friends are and their mutual friends, and at most those mutual friends or acquaintances. But most people's bubbles are not like, you're not worldwide. You like, I don't have many friends in like Texas and New York and Montana and Alabama and Washington. It's mostly strictly California. Even though California's big on its own. And even just, I don't even have that many SoCal friends. I was mostly Bay Area and some SoCal people. But like, I can't say the Filipino American experience. I can't say how different it would be from here to New York to Texas to Toronto to Miami. I don't know what the differences are, but I feel like I would like to say because social media has made the world much more global. I feel like that there's starting to be, not in a bad way, but there's more of a separation between being Filipino American and Asian American, in terms of there's stuff that Filipino Americans go through that are different than what the Asian Americans have shown off in recent years. Like, even though a lot of YouTubers back in the day who did a lot of singing were Asian American, like there's a lot of Asian American cover singers back in the day, but now when people look back on it, even though a lot of Filipinos were in it, I feel like that's much more seen as being Filipino American, like AJ Rafael, J.R. Aquino. But then I feel like a lot of the Asian American cover artists who are just as popular are not as well known now, even though they're all at the same height back then. So I don't know if that's just because I got more Filipino friends in college now, especially because in my college we have a huge Filipino organization. It's literally the biggest organization on campus. Akbayan at SGSU, shout out Triforce. No, which is I don't mess this up. It is, I'm not gonna know the organization. It's San Jose State, San Francisco State, and East Bay. the Filipino organizations, Triforce, shout out to them. But the Filipino organization on campus is literally the biggest organization by far, bigger than any other fraternity, any other club, any other sorority, any other business thing, association, whatever. It's the biggest on campus, just because one, it's not that hard to get into. Not saying that's a bad thing, but literally it's like you don't have to like, the fee is not high like some fraternities. Like fraternities, some of them are like $300 to join. I'm like why? But like, so, and two, I feel like there's a big Filipino population on SGSU, so I was able to meet a lot more Filipinos post college than I did before college. So that also might be influencing why I'm seeing a lot. Yeah, post high school. So I think that's why I'm seeing a lot more Filipino activism, Filipino American culture, even Filipino American memes a lot more now than I did back then. I think back in high school it was much more Asian American, and that's how I identified. And while I still identify as that because I am Asian American, I definitely feel like my Filipino heritage has been heightened enough. Because I mean, look, I'm trying to learn Tagalog. I wouldn't have learned Tagalog in high school, but now I'm trying to learn. So, how about you? So you said you felt like you were one of the only Filipinos in your friend groups growing up?
I was okay. So I had two different groups in high school. Like got cut in half. Like freshman, sophomore year, I had one other Filipino friend, but then she moved away, and that's why we had a new junior, senior year. And then junior year, I also switched independent studies. There wasn't a study school system I was at. And I just remember, like, I don't know if you've had like an identity crisis with your own race, but I just remember, like, and it's not anyone's fault, but as I was like one of the only, like in my group, I was like the only Filipino in my group. I just remember kind of liking being, since like I was just like, man, I wish I was more like white compared to Filipino. Like I hated that I had tan skin. I didn't like hair, didn't like my eyes. Like I just went through this whole identity crisis. Why am I stuck here? Because our high school was there was a lot of different minorities, but Filipino, I think, was like smaller groups within the Asian. So there wasn't, we had like a Philam club, which I joined freshman year.
I think I was in that too, but I don't think I stayed around long enough to remember.
Yeah, because like we kind of like figure out your own. Like I ran my own for a year, and then like I got transferred to the homeschool. So like I didn't really participate in clubs after that. But like, yeah, it was just weird. Like the swim team, we were on sports. And I think there was a good amount of there.
On the Filipinos on the swim team?
Yeah, I remember like 5 specific Filipinos because I was like, I think there was at least like 15 to 20, maybe, like actually maybe more, 15 out of like 120 members on the team. And then I think there was a good amount of, was there a lot of Filipinos on the track team because you were on track?
I was on track for 1 year. Because track is separated into like sprinting and then jumping and throwing. So well, not sprinting, running, jumping and throwing teams. So I was on the throwing team, and I did have 2 Filipinos on my team. So shout out to Ian, shout out to Taylor. But yeah, so I feel like I don't know if I gravitated to talking to some Filipinos because I was in choir. There's a lot of Filipinos in choir. I did the musical my senior year, and there were had a few Filipino group mates. Shout out to Griffin. Shout out to Kyle. Shout out to Jazzy.
Just shouting out to everyone.
Shout out. And then my friend, obviously, who's been on my podcast the most, Josh. Has he's way more Filipino than I can be, even though sometimes doesn't act like he acts very Americanized in terms of like his likes and stuff, but then freaking speaks fluent Tagalog, like impressed my parents immediately. Like he was like, "Oh,
He's
kumusta
that
po? Kumusta po?" And I was like, "Oh my god, you can speak?" He's like, "You never spoke to me." He's like, "You didn't know?" Because I mean, he was from the Philippines, so that's why his Tagalog is so good, and he can literally speak it fluently, and he has a little bit of an accent too, but it's not like thick. It's just slight. Have you ever met Josh? You remember Josh Ronderas? I
I
mean, he
think
was around
we've
me.
met.
Yeah,
I think we've met, but like I wasn't. Because even though like we knew each other, we never like
hung
we
out.
would
Yeah,
just like pass by each other, say like hey, and that was it. Because
yeah.
we knew like we'd like weekend at some party that our parents.
His Tagalog is way better than mine, man. So it's like literally fluent. He's just fluent, and like, but yeah. So I did have a lot. I feel like I did have a lot more Filipino friends, though. My identity crisis more came from the fact that some people thought I was Mexican for the longest time.
You're
Because
like
I don't know why. Because I mean, maybe it's because I grew up in a predominantly Asian American community, so I hung out with a lot of Asians. But because even though there was a good amount of Filipinos that people met, I'll just say it. I'm a very lighter skinned Filipino looking guy, so it's not as obvious to some people. I don't have a lot of the stereotypical Filipino features. I'm not super tan. I don't have my hair is wavier than most Filipinos. My nose is different. I don't speak Tagalog at all. I don't play an ook. I don't know. Even though I wore Filipino jackets like a wannabe Filipino bad boy, but like because of Manny Pacquiao and shit, but I didn't fit. I don't think I fit the stereotype. So that's why it didn't hurt me that people didn't think I was Filipino, or it kind of did, but that type of thing was just kind of juvenile. Some people were just Eventually, I realized they were just trolling me. They knew I was Filipino. They just kept calling me Mexican, and I don't know why. I don't know. It was just kind of a weird time. But that was the only closest thing to add to identity crisis in terms of being who I am in terms of my culture. After that, I feel like I don't know. I feel like didn't necessarily fit in terms of like. I definitely felt like I didn't feel fully like. I didn't want to classify myself as just purely Asian American, even though I know I am, just because I have interests that, like, I play Call of Duty and all my friends play League. Like, I can't relate to people talking about top lane, middle lane, whatever the stuff that is champions and stuff. And not many of them, at least once we got older, not many of them were still playing the games I was playing, video games. So there's some interests that kind of not conflicted but differed. So I didn't feel like I was completely Asian American in terms of fulfilling the stereotype. I'm not like I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to be humble or brag either way. I'm not too smart. I get B's and A's. A lot of my friends were taking AP Bio, AP Chem. I took AP Stats. I mean, I took AP Lit too and AP US History, but I didn't take like the stereotypical super hard AP classes. So there were definitely things that I differed, and I feel like that reflected with the people I hung out later on. I did start hanging out with just a more diverse amount of people. I started friending a lot more people outside of my friend group. So I feel like, but at the same time, I feel like it didn't backfire, but like I feel like I wasn't able to establish a friend group in high school, so I didn't have like people I could talk to and hang out every summer after college semesters. But now in college, I feel like I've gotten a lot more. I feel like I've been able to solidify who I am. So I'm able to now know who are my friends, who I can talk to. I have a lot more group chats, a lot more friends, a lot more people I can talk to about personal stuff and that. So I feel like that's, I don't know. I don't know if I would call it identity crisis or just in terms of being, am I Filipino American? Am I American? Am I Filipino? Am I Asian? It was more like, who am I? Just who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to find people and trying to find people who, I don't know if I want to say common interests, because a lot of my friends, we differ in terms of a lot of stuff, in terms of what we like, in terms of what we, I don't want to say believe, because I'm not like, it's not like I'm like friendly with everyone, but like I feel like I'm more open to talking to people than I was before, if that makes any sense. I'm able to, I can hold a conversation with anyone and try to understand their background. I try to understand them as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Before I don't know, I don't like people who judge. I don't like judge, so I don't like ignorant people. I don't like people who are outwardly racist or outwardly don't want to know me or outwardly anti this or anti that. I just want to talk to people who are like, you're nice and you're a good person, and talking to you I can tell you are a good person. And if I feel like that maybe you're like kind of shady, kind of toxic, I try to cut you off as soon as I can, just because I don't want to deal with that. Let's just say I've been wronged by toxic people in the past, and it did not end well for my mental and emotional state, just because I didn't understand that they were being an ass. Let's just say an ass.
The nicest way to say it.
A douchebag, a piece of crap, piece of poo, doo-doo people. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. That was a long rant there. So, how about you?
Rant.
Oh, thank you. I try now.
No, it was just like, same with you. I found a lot of my Filipino friends in why that is, because there's still not like so I'm not in like my school's main campus, like the camp. So there's not a lot of like Filipinos on campus. There's like 6 of us, 6 to total within like the nursing cohort, and then I became friends with. So there's like 3 of us main group in college, and like that's the most Filipino friends I've ever had. My other school, like my hometown, before moving here, I had 2 other friends who were like half Filipino. So one was half black, half Filipino, other was half white, half Filipino. Like I still keep in contact with, but like growing up, a lot of my friends were like Indian, just because our neighborhood was mainly like an Indian neighborhood. There was like a lot of Indian families, Pakistani families, Chinese families, but I don't ever remember having another Filipino neighbor. So growing up, I think I just never had like one friend that was like fully Filipino. Like there are always like half.
Always mixed, I guess.
Yeah, so I think that's where a lot of like identity crisis came in. And then like I later found out that I wasn't Filipino anyway.
What?
I'm not full Filipino.
I don't think at this point there's not many full Filipinos left. But whether you think that's good or bad, I mean, yeah. So I don't know what I am. I haven't tried to check what I know. I'm not full Filipino, even though my recent family has lived in the Philippines at least 2 or 3 generations. I know the higher I get, the more not Filipino there is in my family. I know there's some Chinese. I know there's Irish. I don't know if there's anything besides that, but yeah.
That's like something we always say. It's like Filipinos try to explain them like if a Chinese and a Spanish person, but like when you like, so I found out I was actually part Chinese and actually part, and I tried explaining. People were like, "Oh, so you're just Filipino?" It's like, no, like I'm Filipino, so some Chinese and I have some Spanish. And that's when like everything just starts like us is they're like, aren't you Spanish and Chinese anyway because of your Philippine heritage? And it's
I can explain that better. So, I think I can explain that. So, to the people who kind of think, I mean, it's kind of a joke. It's like if you mix a Spanish person and an Asian person, you get Filipino. But it's more like the original people from the Philippines. Yes, if you were to track back thousands of years, probably did come from China. But like the Chinese DNA, yeah. But the Chinese DNA if you were to just take an average Filipino, the average Chinese DNA is probably going to be little to non-existent. And Spanish, even though they're more recent, around 500 years, it's also going to be a little more lessened. So when she says she has Chinese and Spanish, it's like that means recently, in the past like 4 generations, someone with a good amount of Chinese blood or Spanish blood at some point had kids, and eventually with Filipinos, and recently enough that it came to you. So it still shows up in your if you check your DNA on 23andMe or Ancestry.com, it's gonna say, oh, you have some Chinese and Spanish DNA in you that is relatively, I assume big percentages enough where it's not like 1%. It's like, oh, yeah. 1%. Some people are like, I'm 1% African. I was like, okay, still can't say the N-word. Don't say the N-word. It's like, I don't care. It's like don't say it, please.
We should take that though, the 23andMe thing. It's like I'm interested in that.
I'm interested. I want to see what it is, but it's a little not pricey, but it's like I should save up for it. It's like at least $60 to $100 something per test. So,
because I know I'm at least
sometime.
I know I'm at least 25% Chinese, and I don't think you have this, but most how they have like Buddha statues.
Yeah,
even though we're not Buddhist or Catholic, so like right there, like walking in through my front door, you basically a bunch of Buddha statues, and right above the door is the crucifix. And I don't know why we have Buddha statues, considering we're not Buddhists. They always say it's for good luck. I don't know if that's cultural appropriation.
Well, I mean, the Buddha is meant to be. It is good luck having a Buddha statue. Just I feel like from what I've heard, rubbing the Buddha's belly. I don't know. It just, yeah, I can see. I've seen a few of my Filipino friends. They do have that. I never questioned it because I'm not like, oh, are you like half Chinese or are you Buddhist? I'm like, I don't know. It's, now that you mention it, I'm starting to realize that a few of my Filipino friends do have that. So I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't know. I don't know if that's just because my family's more strictly Catholic. Like we're Catholic and that's it.
Okay.
Because even like my Irish are very Catholic as well. So there's like not. I don't think it's been recent that my family has not been Catholic. So that's probably why.
Same with ours, but you say that, but you don't really have a position. Okay, so my sisters and I were altar servers, so we still serve at church.
Oh, okay.
But like, did your parents ever like not pressure you, but like ask you to consider like having a position at church? Because I know you're like scheduled as a greeter, but you're never like actually there greeting people.
They schedule me as a greeter, but I never got a text. I never got an email, but they put me as a greeter. I'm like, can someone please tell me why? I don't have a phone number.
Dad?
I think it's me, because like I remember I signed up for it a long time ago, but then I never got an email or phone call about it or text confirming if they're saying yeah you can, but then like literally like a year later they said, oh, I thought you were a greeter. It's like, no, like, the why is your name on the list? I'm like, it is, and I'm like, I never know because I never got confirmation back. I don't know if that just maybe they sent it the wrong email and just thought. So I don't know. But in terms of, but I feel like my family does. We're very much Catholic because at home, I mean, we go to church every Sunday. We do rosary on most days. We recently, because of the coronavirus, we've been listening to daily masses. So I feel like we are very much Catholic. My parents are very much Catholic, very much devout in their Catholic beliefs. And I'll say I am Catholic, but I feel like I don't want to say passion, but or faith either. It's more like I'm not like, I feel like they grew up with like strictly, because in the Philippines it's very much Catholic. They strictly like they learned the Bible. I don't know the Bible. I don't know the Bible. Like I can't quote a verse. And even though they can't quote the verse, they like know the stuff. They know their commandments in and out. They know their beatitudes. They know their lessons. They know their quotes. Mm-hmm. They might not be able to put a like Deuteronomy 2:1 or whatever, but I don't know why I said Deuteronomy. That's the first one that came to my head. But like, I didn't have that growing up. I did go to like Sunday school, but I feel like the Sunday schools here in the US, or at least the ones I went to, were much more lenient and much more just teaching more about the morality of being Catholic, all the morals, than rather like teaching this is how you do this is why you do this is why the Eucharist happens, this is why we go, this is why we kneel here, this is what, like, I didn't learn that stuff. So
did you go to CCD though, or was it just confirmation class?
I did go to CCD, but it's like,
were you not
I don't know, the teachers weren't that great. We just read from a book and I forgot everything. It was very, I don't know, maybe just because my teachers were, I mean, they're volunteers, so I mean, like, they're not paid to teach, or they're into teaching, like, you know how college, you have to go to college to learn how to teach and you get your certification. Like, they didn't get that. But it's like, I don't know, the way that we still didn't really get taught much in terms of like strict, this is what happens here. It was more like just, this is what it means to be Catholic, this is what it means to be nice, this doesn't mean to be good, stuff like that. So it wasn't like, we didn't go too deep in terms of like the rules, or I think my parents, especially my dad, definitely that was hammered in at an early age. So that's why I feel like we differ on some things.
And I think like our parents, I don't know about your parents, but I know my parents, they went to Catholic because I feel like that's the only school like in the Philippines. So like my mom had like the strict nun teacher that like would get a ruler and like smack your hand if you were like you weren't writing properly or whatever. So like my parents, they know the Bible, and like I think I'm pretty Catholic. My parents are pretty Catholic. Like we're all very like traditional Catholic Filipino family. I agree with everything. I think like I don't want to talk too much about religion, but
yeah, we're all good. What's it called? Like, you never want to talk about religion and politics. And based on what like Twitter is, that's all they talk about. That's all they talk about now. And obviously, seeing as why people say you don't want to talk about religion and politics, look at Twitter. It's just it's a bunch of people shouting at each other.
Honestly, I just don't want to start an argument.
It's very draining.
But like,
even if it's just a discussion, yeah.
Like considering how my parents are raised, like going to the Catholic school, my dad, I'm just gonna put like when it comes to LGBT stuff, he's like pretty open about it, and I think it's because we have family who's part of the LGBT community, and like I don't exactly know what the Bible says, but I think like it's up to interpretation as time goes. Like things will change, but
yeah, I think my family's a little more traditional in that sense. I'm not gonna go into deep about that, but like, I don't want to say it's because they're mean spirited, but just they don't know. Then we don't have many. We don't have many LGBT friends don't have many other family friends of other minorities. So I feel like it's not that they're mean spirited, but it's more like they just don't. It's ignorant, but not in like the
Bad
racist,
sense. It's
not
just
the
like,
racist way. They didn't grow up learning that type of stuff, and it's not. They never hate anything, but they're just like they don't. It's like they don't understand. It's like this. Like it's not like they're hating on other LGBT or minorities. It's more like they just don't get it. Like they never
yeah,
talk to someone who's like that, who's explaining to them. They just don't get it in that
yeah,
sense. It's not that they're mean about it. They just like they don't know. Like there's like if you lived somewhere and you never met, let's say you never met. You say you're an Asian person and you went to a predominantly Hispanic school. Let's say you've never met another Asian person ever, and then all of a sudden you met one. It's going to be confusing because you're like, there's someone who just, I don't know. All I know is just very vague stereotype and jokes that sometimes are made, but you don't know anything past that. It's all surface level stuff.
yeah.
So
like growing up, how diverse, I guess, were your friend groups? Because outside of you guys, I know growing up, my dad's like coworkers are mostly like, so like we grew up like, celebrating with them. We were invited to the kids' parties, so we have like that background. And then my mom's background, she has like Eastern European friends, she has African American friends, and like we'd always be invited to parties. So I feel like we got a good sense of a bunch of different cultures. But like I don't actually know like what your life was like before I met.
in terms of my friend groups, like early growing up, in terms of what my family, most of my family friends are just Filipino, just like Filipino, and then some of them married. So outside of being Filipino, but mostly just the friends that my parents made are mostly Filipino people. Like I have stereotypical titas, ninongs, ninangs. Mostly, it's all very Filipino in terms of ingrained. Like most of my parents and both of my parents don't have many non-Filipino friends. We do have a lot. They do have non-Filipino coworkers, but I feel like they don't have non-Filipino friends, which may lead to why they don't know not how to interact or what to say. Because they're not racist in terms of like they're just gonna be like, oh, that guy over there, they must do this, or they do that. It's like no, it's more like they just don't talk, so they just don't know all they get is from whatever they saw on the news, whatever cool things they saw in movies. Like they don't like hate any. They don't like hate any. I don't think they have any hate for anyone. It's just that they don't. I've never seen them interact with anyone outside of Filipino, so I just don't know how they would interact. I just don't know.
Do you feel like you're diverse with other cultures, or do you feel like you have like a comfort zone within your Asian American
I would
community?
say in terms of who I gravitate more towards, I do have a lot more Asian or HAPA friends than I do any other group. Though I do have friends who are white. Especially around where we live, there's not many African Americans. Though I did have growing up. I remember I have friends who are African American and acquaintances. I've had friends and acquaintances who are Hispanic and Latino, but I definitely don't have as many friends just because of the environment I'm in. They're like the populations of those groups are not as huge as, especially now where I went to a mostly Asian American school for high school, and then when I went to college, I went to a mostly Asian American college. So it's like it's not that I don't want to have any black friends or Hispanic or Mexican friends. It's just that there's not many opportunities that I would cross paths and talk to them. But I've never been like unwilling to talk to anyone just because of their race or their sexual orientation or their. As I said, I want to talk to you, and if I feel like that you're a good person, because it takes a while to understand who a person is. It takes a few conversations, it takes a few things. But I feel like for the majority, I know who to talk to and who are like basically. It's like what Martin Luther King said. I don't judge the don't. I don't remember what the exact quote is. It's like don't judge the person by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Like if I like talking to you, it's because I like talking to you. It's not because you're Filipino. It's not because you're white. It's not because you're black. Not because you're straight. Because you're gay. Because you're trans. It's because you're genuinely a cool person. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna say I don't have many. It's not. I don't want to say I don't have any implicit biases. I might have biases. I might have thought. I might have not thoughts. I might have like some sense of maybe there's some stereotypes I might still believe or might have in the back of my head. But I feel like another quote is, you're not racist based on your first thought, or you're not ignorant or whatever, or sexist. You're not sexist or racist on your first thought. It's your second and third thoughts that count. So that's why I'm not, when I talk to a person at their surface level, I know some people you can get put off easily by people just on their surface level, but I really want to get to know people first before I want to judge them. So I don't want to say I'm not some perfect person. I definitely have people I get along way better with than others. I definitely do at times judge people who are, it's never more about their skin color or their sexual orientation. It's more like, are you shouting in my ear when we're in a quiet place? Like, are you like telling me, are you like talking shit to me in front of my face? Are you like, you harassing me? Are you being a dick? Are you harassing someone else? Are you are you slut shaming? Are you doing this? Are you spreading lies? Like, I'm not going to associate with you if you're just a dick or but if you're nice, I tend to not care as long as you're a genuinely good person. And I know nowadays it feels like it's harder to find genuinely good people, but I feel like the majority of people are genuinely good people. It's just that it's always the extremes you see on social media. So that's why I like to plug off from social media a lot in terms of like Twitter, just because I feel like, I don't know, people are just more angry on social media. There's a lot more emotion, for better or worse. And I don't know. It ruins my vibe. It's not. It doesn't pass the vibe check for me. I don't need that energy. I don't need that energy. I want to be here with my essential oils and crystals. See, now I just.
Hey, don't hate on that. Mom uses that.
I know my mom uses that too. I'm just like saying it's
holistic.
I know. I'm making fun of it, but they smell nice. I'm just saying they're not a substitute for vaccines.
So did your parents ever like pressure you into dating? Well, I guess like, did they ever want you to like date only Filipinos? I remember my mom was kind of heartbroken when she found
Found what?
My mom, she was kind of
heartbroken about what? Sorry, you're like lagging.
Sorry. Like, were you ever pressured to date like Filipino?
I don't think my
how, like,
dad. Oh, sorry.
You know how like some families, they want you to keep then like keep it, like they don't want you mixing up different cultures within your own.
Which may or may not be ignorant or racist, but yeah. But yeah, I feel like my dad, not so much. He's more like just he never said find a woman who's like this. It's more like he taught me more just be confident, just do this. Don't be shy, just go for it. If you're going to ask someone to prom or homecoming, be strong about it. And I only asked one person to prom and it worked, but it wasn't exactly the person I was interested in. It was more like, we're friends, you want to go? Sure. So that's why I didn't date much in high school from what I remember. But my mom definitely is more like, you need to find a Filipina Catholic girl, and that's it. So, but I feel like even though obviously I'm dating a Filipina girl now, she was definitely more. Let's just say when I had my first girlfriend and she wasn't Filipina, my mom was like, "What? How? You know other
Why?
people?" I'm like, "Mom, the world isn't full of Filipinos." She was like, I mean, she was more sad that her baby boy had a girlfriend than her skin color. But it was like, you know people who aren't Filipino? I'm like, Mom, yes, you've met them. You've met a bunch of people who are not Filipino in my friend group.
My mom.
It's just, yeah. So much. I do get the sense that my mom, at least for me, I don't know about my sisters, but I feel like I do get the sense that my mom was like, would be would be happy for me either way, but I know she has her preferences. That's why I said she doesn't. My parents don't hate anyone. It's just that they don't know many non-Filipino people, so they just don't know how to interact with them.
Yeah.
Like when I have my friends come over, they don't talk much. Sorry, I interrupted you. I was gonna get one more thought.
Oh.
When I bring my friends over, just in general, my parents don't really talk to them. But then when I brought Josh over and he spoke Tagalog, it was like a immediate connection. So that's why
It's always like that.
It's always like that. Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted you. You can go now.
So you remember my ex name drop, but I remember my mom was just like, "Why him? Like, why not like a mom? Have you seen like half of my celebrity crushes? Like, when are any of them Filipino?" And then that's when she realized we live in America. There's not a lot of Filipino fish in the sea. She's probably not going to pick them anyway. And so, like, my mom.
You don't like James Reed?
He's cute, you know, but
don't say anything more. Do not say anything. I'm just kidding. No, like do not say anything more. No.
Those like James Reed stans are gonna like come after me.
I have a lot of friends who are James Reed stans, so I'm like, shh, no. Joke long.
Compared to Nadine Lustra, Catherine, like everyone.
Nadine Lustro? Okay, yeah.
Lustra.
Lustra.
I think that's.
I was like, I think she's the one. You lagged out, so I was like, who?
She's like the love. I think that's her love team. I think it's her and James Reed. Anyway, mom.
Anyway, let's get past that.
Mom like accepted that like I didn't like, guys. Meanwhile, my dad was like he like roots for all of us to like. He loves like different cultures. So my cousin, who's like my sister, she's marrying like a white guy, and my dad was really happy about it. He's like, we're adding diversity into our family. Like, that's just my dad, and it's kind of cute. But like, I know some I don't know why they won't find.
I think it's because the Philippines has a lot of pride in their nationality and the ethnicity of being Filipino. Like, you've heard this phrase, Pinoy pride. It's like really strong. Like that might be part of it, just because I feel like in America, it's much more about the individual. Like you might be proud or not proud some other people, but like you're American, but you're Filipino American, you're African American, Hispanic American, Italian American. There's always America is like the nationality, but we have so many ethnicities, so many minorities, so many people, or even individuals within their own families who are different from each other. I feel like while not at the point we should be in terms of interracial relations, because there's obviously a lot of tension still, even though it's lessened over the past centuries and decades, it's still there. But I feel like Filipinos, the pride of being Filipino is so strong, it's kind of hard to see dating outside of the race just because you're Filipino, even though Filipinos in general are very much mixed. So that might be it.
My mom, though, she's still like, make sure he's like a good guy, make sure it's like this, like that. I still sometimes make sure he's a doctor.
I'm gonna beat him up. If anyone hurts you, he's gonna beat up time and put up the fisticuffs. I use my black
Manny
belt to its...
Pacquiao, his butt.
Bah, no. Don't hit my
Do you
microphone.
remember, like... Oh, please don't. You've had that for, like, years.
No, I'm not gonna break this. This is my
Your
pride and joy here. I'm not gonna break this. You hear me? I'm not gonna... Like, I get scared when I accidentally drop it from, like, 5 feet from the ground. Not even 5, like 2 feet from the ground. Like, oh, it's okay.
Do you know how
We're gonna
many,
punch
like,
it.
Filipino parties we've had? And, like, how many times that mic has dropped in your room?
But it's always a slow drop, and it's always... I have carpet, okay? I'm not scared it's gonna break. But I am not gonna punch it. I'm not taking my risk of, like, breaking it. No.
Do you think people know, like, how parties are now?
Hmm?
Do you think people know, like, what Filipino parties are like? Because how many, like, non-Filipino friends, like, our group invited?
Probably not much. Filipino parties. I feel like I've talked about this with Josh on a previous podcast. No, we talked about Filipino time. We talked about the concept of Filipino time. But everyone's always late. Filipino party starts at 9. Everyone comes at 3.
Honestly.
It's like
3 p.m.
It's like
Well, because...
everyone's cooking and it just takes way too long.
No, so for my family, my dad doesn't want to be the first guest. Because he doesn't want to, like, pressure not only the one hosting it, but other people to, like, rush. So that's why we try to come at least 30 minutes late. So we're not pressuring other people. But, like, what's normal? We, like, go in, we, like, kiss everyone. We bring whatever we bring. Like, certain
Food
families, I
presents,
think, certain families, like, have their own specific thing. So, Tita Myla, she mainly does, like, dessert and the lechon.
My mom makes all the healthy stuff.
The fruit
That's all I'm gonna
platter.
say. The fruit platters, the steamed vegetables.
There was a time where your mom was, like, on a health, like, craze.
She still is. It hasn't stopped.
No,
I can
but,
tell
like,
you that much. I'm eating broccoli
we
almost every
snuck
other
you
day.
guys out. Do you remember, like, our mom was like, you guys want Popeyes? And you guys were like, yeah. And she bought you guys Popeyes because your mom let you, like, eat it or whatever. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I feel like my mom's got more lenient, but she's still very much about the organic life, the healthy life, less oil, less fats, less sugar. But in all honesty, once you take that away from cooking,
It's hard to make anything taste
it's hard to make anything taste good. I mean, you can, but it's like trying to put the minimum amount of seasoning and trying not to eat fat on meat. Like, I know some fat doesn't taste good on meat, but like when you say, "Hey, can you eat the pork but not eat the fat?" Like, okay, I'll eat like 5% of this food. Good luck. Or like my mom's like,
is good though.
it's okay. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's good. It's good. It's good cooking. It's just that I feel like she could sprinkle a little more salt sometimes. Just a little bit of spice, a little bit more sugar or honey at least or something. I don't know, but it's not. Yeah, she's a good cook though. It's just that it's not the food I would prefer to make if I were to cook. And I've learned to relatively cook some things. Like if I follow a recipe, let's say I haven't burned anything yet. I haven't put an oven on fire and just knock on wood here. But yeah, also my mom likes to cook everything well done, and steak is not meant to be ate well done, Mom.
I don't know. I think we know what to expect. Our dad's is different. Our dads are all
like, barbecue.
We always and getting drunk. We like start placing bets at the beginning of the party, like which one get drunk.
Oh, I never participate in that because you guys don't invite me to those bets.
No?
I've never betted. I've never even heard you guys bet.
We
about
don't
it.
actually bet anything, but you know who started it?
Not me.
Erica. Erica started it.
Well,
She
I
was
didn't
like,
do anything.
she was like, bet you my dad's gonna get drunk. Or Tito Eric. And we're all pretty much like, yep.
I'm just like, I don't know. I can, yeah, I see that. Yeah, I know. I can see that.
Someday we're gonna like bet you.
I don't drink often.
I know you don't.
Like, I've taken shots, I've drank beer, but I don't think I've ever gotten blackout drunk. No, I have not. Because I remember not every time, but I remember being drunk. I don't remember drinking last night. No, I've never had that
Are you a
happen.
lightweight?
No, it's more like, let's see, when I drink, I get, alcohol is a depressant. And some people, even though it's a depressant, some people get hyped. No, I get sleepy. I'm a sleepy drunk. I'm like tired. Like I'll keep drinking, but I'm like, I'm tired, guys. Like, can y'all chill? But like,
I get really
can get
happy.
hype. I can get hype, and I'm happy. I'm not an angry drunk. Angry drunks. First of all, angry drunks need. I'm not gonna say they need counseling, but they're like, y'all should know. After 5 shots, you should not drink anymore. I do not. You have underlying issues that need to be taken care of, but not a bad way. I'm not judging. It's just that, like, if you're angry at a party, it ruins the mood. Whether you're sober or drunk, like, it just ruins the mood. Like a fight is like, everyone's like, oh, it's a fight. And I'm just like, bro, you ruined my vibe, man. The vibe is failed here. Yeah, glow up. I think that's a good term. But yeah. Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about? Anything? Last things, plugs. I don't know. What do you got? What do you got for the world out there?
I don't have any plugs.
All right.
Shout
no
out.
Plugs.
Can I just shout out a bunch of my friends? Cause like,
sure, let's go.
I love
how
them.
many can you shout out?
I don't know. Let's see. Shout out to B and Alyssa, main support system at nursing school. Shout out to Maria and Nena and Sammy, 3 best girlfriends right there. Shout out to Huckleberry, one of my best guy friends. Kenan, love Ken Bear. I got 7. That's a good number.
All right, we're gonna stop at 7. No more. No other people want to shout out.
Shout out to Joven for having me on his podcast. You should totally definitely like follow the podcast. Add him on Instagram. He's great. Shout out to
the light just keeps changing here. The clouds are messing with my light right now. Mine is not adjusting though.
Shout out to the Philippines.
Shout out to the Philippines.
That's all I got.
All right, and with that note, thank you all so much for listening and or watching today. Once again, if you're on Anchor or Spotify, please follow the podcast so you can see when a new podcast gets added. If you're on YouTube, please remember to like the video. Let's subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also let's say below if you're a Filipino or Filipino American or Asian American or just anyone, what's your experience on trying to find your identity? Comment down below. Let us know. And once again, you can also support me on Patreon, where as low as $1 a month, you can get extra content like unedited episodes and, among other things, polls and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching and listening to the GoLoco Podcast today. This is your host Joven, and wherever and whenever you are in the world, I hope you have an amazing day. Peace out.
Bye guys.